All right. Yes, we are live here on our webinar platform and also on our YouTube channel, SME Banking TV. So hello everyone and welcome. Welcome to our webinar. My name is Olena Gryniuk. I'm the CEE Director at the SME Banking Club and I will host today's session. And today we speak about AI and particularly about the AI-driven decision-making in banking. My guest today is Nickolovski, AI strategy lead at Childish AI. And Childish AI is an AI research, consulting, design, and development company. Nick, welcome.
Thank you, Elena. Thanks for having us, and welcome everyone as well. Today's topic is quite interesting, especially due to the, I would say, quite a big vibe around AI after the introduction of ChatGPT last year, and actually at the end of 2021. I think it brought back the attention to AI. We've been working on AI topics quite a long time already, initially more on the traditional side of AI, which I would say is more the machine learning algorithms and other either classification, regression, or type of models, plus deep learning, neural networks, etc. And that was attractive, but probably not that much as the foundational and generative AI and large language models are at the moment. So what we will try to cover in today's session is, from the point of view of the customer, how does a future journey look like, and how AI-driven approach can help you, in short, make more personalized offers at the right time for the right audience.
Yeah.
So,
just one moment of organizational information from my side. So yes, we start from the presentation, but in the second part of the webinar, we will have a Q&A session. So please type your questions here in the chat, and we will read all of them in the second part of the presentation. Yeah. So Nick, welcome.
Yep, sure. So without further ado, I'm moving to the next one. And in terms of summarization of what challenges are currently facing the traditional retail banks and overall the banking systems, is a few things. First of all, the changing behavior of the customers, and with its rapid change at the moment, the disruption brought by the challenger banks, let's say the arts of Revolut, N24, Monzo, and all other banks which do not have all their legacy systems with them, which have, let's say, a relatively fresh start into designing and boosting innovation. This is one very important topic which needs to be addressed by the current existing banks. And obviously, the importance of replying to the rapidly changing customer needs in a secured way, ensuring the scalability and the durability of the current approach in banking system and legacy what they're currently using. So what we'll try to do here is understand how this works and how can, on top of that, AI bring more value. This, of course, undergoes with the assumption that the business goals are clearly identified. Once they're identified, the strategy formulation is in progress, how they can be achieved, and what are the underlying, let's say, enablers from be traditional or generative or advanced analytics type of AI, because all these three can play a major role into transitioning from let's say, more deterministic towards more probabilistic decision making at a more personalized level. The questions we will be answering, let's say make an approach of how we can answer such questions, such as how likely is a client to purchase a product? Is this product profitable at all? Is that the right product for the right client? How can we do cross-sell or upsell? The response rate improvement from, let's say, from direct marketing campaigns, and how about transforming the existing network or the contacts which marketing team has gathered into opportunities with a high probability of exception. So these are all, in our opinion, problems which needs to have answers. Further on that, we will also cover a few points around, okay, what is the right time to start and to embrace such journey with AI? I know that a lot of people in the banking industry, they're quite peer orientated, and they know that, oh, for example, my peers have already started on the AI journey. It's too late for us. Let's wait for the next new big thing. It's the short answer. It's never too late. Under the constraint that you can have this clearly articulated, you have your business, you have your business case, you know how to go through this journey, because it's quite different journey compared to, let's say, a journey of implementing traditional software under the traditional software lifecycle development. And there are pitfalls, there are nuances which everyone needs to be aware of, and we can have a short conversation on that as well. So in a traditional bank, there is always this dilemma and trade-off between the marketing, the sales, and the risk department. Who do we advertise to? Are they the right audience? Then in terms of sales, okay, let's sell to more people. But then the risk department, on the contrary, is saying, okay, we do not have to go beyond our risk limits. This is a three-way constraint, which plays a crucial role, because the incentives, let's say, of the sales department will be to reach higher targets. The incentives of the risk department would be not to exceed any given risk thresholds, etc. So how can we solve such problem? And if we look into the current banking landscape from the customer journey point of view, where does it go, and what is the process? So it starts with the acquisition and the attraction of customers. And I think the presentation is gone. There we go. It's back. Sorry. It starts with the attraction and the acquisition space. So what can we do there? The current way of operating is to put clients, customers, people in this case, into brackets. If you live in certain area, if you have an income of that and that, if your occupation is such and such, and so on, you are classified in this category. There is less room for movement in between or across. So, for example, depending on the level of detail and granularity of the models which are used currently, why would you make any distinction between a English literature student and someone who is studying quantum physics? They're both students, they're both in their second year, they're in the same university, their expectations are relatively similar, and so on. But is this the reality? Maybe, maybe not. So there is something which we use here, and it's so-called the propensity to buy. Who is more likely to buy what type of products? But in order to get that, we should also be able to target the right people with the right products, first of all. And I will go in the next slides to explain more in detail, but this is on the attraction acquisition side. Why is it important? Simply because the higher the probability of someone will accept an offer for a product, the less marketing cost, the less sales costs are involved, and so on. So we have here matrices which we should be measuring throughout the AI journey, such as for example, the monthly customer acquisition rate, the expected customer lifetime value, and so on. And from time to time, it could come to a shorter term goals compared to a longer term. If something like the number of customers is important for a given quarter, or the revenue for a quarter is more important than the longer run expected customer lifetime, then of course this needs to be allowed to be prioritized via the system and the models at place. Then we have the credit qualification, the limit assessment, pricing, etc. All this part which goes into the credit and risk department. And then a customer goes into the operation and servicing area once it's become a client. What and how AI can help? First of all, in terms of the credit and risk part, there are a few ways. Why, let's say, credit qualifications and credit scoring still operates at the older system, simply because it requires a lot of explainability. Some of the more complex models are difficult to provide a very low detail of explainability. The fraud prevention, however, is something where we can benefit from AI. And there are a lot of companies and applications which are already successful. Probably one of the reasons for them being so successful into applying such process is simply because it's relatively isolated process in the banks. And those applications, they do not change the entire related system around this process. What I mean by that, the fraud prediction is something which, again, assigns probability of that some person or some transaction is fraudulent. And especially in the credit decisioning, it's more about the people. Current AI models use, let's say, anomaly detections, etc. But since we're on the topic as well of generative AI, we can think of reverse engineering this, because recently I read an article about how fraudulent potential customers are trying to enter the system, and using generative AI to become less observable and detectable by the systems. In the same way as they use generative AI and foundational models, this can be reversed, and for the detection of such documents or such mostly documents, in the way they've written them, in the way they've structured them, to be assessed that there is a high likelihood and score for that of being generated by generative AI. Further down the customer journey itself, there are other parts where AI is also applicable. The probability of default of a customer, which is definitely tracked on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis by the risk department, can also benefit from AI models, which can predict such people who are more likely to become defaulters. The expectations for the churn of the customers at the end of the life cycle of their product. Let's say if they're taking a mortgage, how likely is that they might want to use, or first of all, to remortgage with the same bank, or to use different products, etc., so that they can churn. This can also easily be predicted. The prediction itself doesn't bring a lot of value if you don't act upon it, and hence the prediction is important so that the banks can early enough in the life cycle identify such clients, prepare for the next best offer for them, and offer them something before they even go to churn. Why is that important? It is because the cost of acquiring new customers is times higher than the cost of keeping the existing customers. You can keep them either by offering cross-sell products or better extension of the current mortgage, for example, if that was the case with the product and so on. But in order to do so, you need to know this in advance so that you can prep and have a high likelihood of success. Matrices, which are important here, is definitely the average days past due, the non-performing assets, the attrition rate, as we said, the churn rate, which is the one minus the other, and so on. Why I am talking about these KPIs? The reason for that is a lot of the implementations of AI, not only in banks, across industries, are unfortunately not bringing positive return on investment. And one of the pitfalls is exactly this. It's very difficult to correctly calculate the business case, to correctly identify the bridge between business KPIs and metrics with the technical KPIs of the expected and of the suggested future models. What I mean by that, for example, if we use some classification model to differently classify the groups of our customers, then we'll probably use something like accuracy or F1 score or whatever type of matrix. But for the business side, AUC or area under the curve doesn't mean anything. Or maybe to some, yes, but the major point here is to be able to map how, let's say, an increase or decrease with some basis points of the AUC would impact the overall performance of such important KPIs, which are be it operational and strategic KPI, which kind of sums up into the strategic KPIs for the respective department. Move to the next slide. So now we will be talking a little bit more about the background and how can this be achieved with the help of AI. At the very bottom here, we have the different functions, models which can be used, the propensity to buy, the probability of default. Some of them are existing, definitely the PTB, the LE, expected loss and profit. I've put here especially profit for a particular reason, but also the fraud detection, customer churn customer segmentation, and others. So these models exist currently. They are operated and monitored on a daily basis by different departments, such as credit, risk, compliance, operations, etc. The next level of that is how do we make sure that by offering the product, this is the product which is not only the right product for this customer, but also the product which maximizes the net financial impact for the bank. Because if you think about it, what does it mean, the right product, if if, for example, someone is offered a very low mortgage rate, obviously they will accept it, they'll become a customer, but this will be in conflict with the constraint that under certain level of or above certain risk level, we're rejecting all customers. And this is the case where I was talking about the, we're falling into a bracket, and that's why, it's the offer will be rejected if it's only seen on this particular constraint. So the idea is that the next best offer provides this most suitable and with the highest likelihood of acceptance under these constraints. We are not mending or changing the current risk model here. What we are optimizing for net financial impact results, which means hypothetically, we could provide an offer to someone who is with higher risk to churn. But in overall, and this is explained best actually on the next slide, that's, let's say, the propensity to buy. This is the risk profile. The current target of the customers is in the middle. If I am beyond this risk level, I will not get the offer. Simply because, for example, this block of people might not be of a lot of interest from the sales department, because the more you are on the left on this graph, the lower the potential profit is, and vice versa. The more on the right, the more appetite the risk department has to offer you something, because the risk premium is higher, and respectively the let's say the interest. But you have the constraint from the risk department, because no, this is too risky. The current state is designed by the pre-approved credit limits, and this is like the input from the credit risk management. And here is the marketing. The other input is the marketing and sales targeted audience. What we suggest here is to target the risk-adjusted profit of this communication, which means that even though this might not have been from the top interest from let's say from sales and marketing department, but it still has a low risk profile, so it's positively impacting the net financial income. And I'm not saying that the overall, let's say, defaulters will be surely less than the current models, the current system. However, regardless of that, the net financial income, when you sum it up, will be higher. Moving back for a second. So how can this be achieved? It's not purely about the modeling. It also requires everything to work as a system. And in banks, it's often the case, data resides into silos, the processes are fragmented, someone is responsible for one part of it, there are probably some conflicting incentives, as mentioned, let's say compare risk and sales and so on. Hence, a personalization level and alignment of this process in order to achieve another KPI, which is to provide more personalized offers, which are then with a higher likelihood of acceptance, needs to be designed. And how is it designed? Into the current processes, it is, again, it's not only the models, these outputs of the models, they need to be integrated in the process. There must be a system which allows, for example, to test the results on a smaller basis in a pilot phase, to figure out the performance, to again make this connection between what is the model performance, how this model performance results into the business performance, etc., in order to allow for more personalized marketing campaigns later on. This then also does not exclude, let's say, generative AI, simply because it can be seen and used as in order to get efficiency gains. You can test far more different, let's say, ways of communicating with the clients. You can personalize the messaging. You can personalize and test out various options in much faster way. You don't have someone who will be doing this manually as it was in the old days. So this is one of the areas where generative AI can benefit for sure, because in such case you don't need a deep explainability of the models, why a model has constructed the sentences in such and such way, as long as, of course, you make sure that any hallucinations are minimized, and there are ways of doing so for sure. But it's you're not using it, for example, to determine the risk or anything. You're just scenario testing various different approaches of for reaching out to clients, and obviously you can then make them more personalized and figure out which cohort of them is leading to best results. And of course, all this feeds back and circulates the information so that this can be improved over the time. And when improving over time is quite important, because this is different than the traditional way of developing software. Yes, you could also improve software in traditional way, but any AI, any ML models, they need constant retraining, constant maintenance, constant monitoring, performance optimizations, and so on, simply because the inputs change, and this needs to be factored. The ultimate goal of this whole exercise is, of course, to extend and to maximize the customer lifetime value. It has many benefits. It's not purely about the revenue which will be generated over the lifetime and the span of a customer, but again, it also reduces the operational cost simply and the marketing cost, most importantly, because you're not acquiring steadily new customers. You can still gain more from the existing, especially with the net financial impact approach in combination with the next best offer. I think I've covered this slide already. The benefits probably already covered most of them. I just want to spend the last 2 minutes in two more things, which is all related to the traditional challenges in the banks. First of all, banks very, let's say, hierarchical structure, also very historically legacy-driven, business-focused in terms of, okay, the way we have done business in the last 100 years hasn't changed a lot, but actually it did change a lot in the most recent future. So, and this requires new approaches for being able to keep at the top of this chain. The framework we have developed is for creation of a strategy, especially in the AI space. It covers a lot of the key, actually, all key aspects, such as the processes, the people, the technology, the existing strategy, as well as the operating model. Because in a lot of cases, the operating model is something which is neglected. And as it previously was the case with data is the new fuel, but no one wanted to fund the data governance, the data quality assurance, etc., because a lot of lines of business and functions in the bank can benefit from it, but who is supposed to pay for that is another question. So the first thing in creating the strategic framework is also quite important to pick up the right operating model, especially when you do such type of innovations. How can they be used? Would it be a centralized one? Would it be hub and spoke, decentralized, and so on? There is no one fit for all solution, but it is quite a major question when you embrace the journey. Depending on where you are, we could definitely help you with assessment of the current AI state and also provide a gap report and recommendations of how you should be able to advance with it, but also to start from scratch, analyzing all these aspects and providing recommendations, plus designing and implementing models helping you to achieve such goals, for example, as the next best offer, or to be ready for the next way of customer behavior change and new way of customer journey and approach. I think getting a little bit over time, so I'll pause here for any questions. Thanks all in advance, and let me know any questions, please.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much, Nick. Very valuable, insightful presentation. Yes, we have a first question from Jacob. I will read it and let's discuss it. So the question is, are there a working prototype in a bank about the targeted segment, the product, the conversation? So I think this is the question about the first AI use case, from which segment or from what to start, how to decide it, and how to start actually. I think if it's you just can please type if this is it. Yeah.
If we understand the question in the same way, I think it's really good question, and I'll try to cover it same way as the differences between the traditional software development and the AI models. The traditional software development goes on, let's say we have, or at least years ago, especially in the banking, before adopting the agile methodologies, but we have a business requirements document, then we have a system requirements document, then we have a system detail specification. We know exactly what are the functional, non-functional requirements. We have the system design and so on, up to the latest point with all expectations. And then we start developing, and in some point in time, you have the system. Could be in 1 or 2 releases, but it's a very long process and requires quite a high upfront investment. Now, the difference with the NPO, let's say working prototype, is that you should not embrace the process in this way. Actually, with any AI project, because it's the wrong approach. And this is where a lot of companies fail. Why? Because first of all ways of measuring the success of this project throughout its cycle are different. At the beginning, when you do a quick proof of concept, you will have different measures compared to when you start creating your first, let's say, minimal viable product or pilot, etc. What I mean by that, the proof of concept, assume that you have the current system. The current system generates offers to your customers, and you can measure, and you know historically how you have measured what is their acceptance, rejection, and so on. You can also calculate the profitability and everything else. Now, first step is leverage this historical data and create your assumptions based on historical data. You don't need to invest in very sophisticated system, etc. What your first goal is to prove, is it possible to answer the hypothesis, is it possible via any AI or data science and statistical models for me to improve this current performance? If it's yes, then you move to the next one, and you can do it quickly. You don't wait until you've developed everything and to figure out in 2 years, oh God, we are not even better than what it was before. Then you move to the next one, you pick up a small subset of products. There are obviously, we have also frameworks for prioritization of which products are most suitable and so on, and create the next iteration, better model, a model which can, let's say, operate with some of the newly acquired data, which can give you some results. Still not integrated in your system entirely. It could still give, let's say, some of the outputs in the favorite tool of everyone, Excel, as long as they can be inserted into some of the processes without changing massively this process, without a big investment. But you have a like-alike comparison between what you've been offering these customers now and what you are thinking is the better option. Pick up homogeneous groups, pick up same number of customers, do it in parallel. Not a very deep investment at this stage. Again, if that's proved successful, only then you start, or only then you continue with the development of a really either batch or real-time provision of the inference of the results and the outputs, depending on the business case, or a combination of them, and to create the whole kind of recommender system. But this approach, first of all, again, measures different KPIs, both technical as well as on the business side, mostly the same ones, but on the technical side are different. For example, you won't care initially if the throughput time, about the latency, etc., that much. You still care about them in terms of, is that achievable at some point at stage that I can have my predictions at the given cost of prediction? But you need to answer this question in the very low detail. And this is what I've observed, for example, how successful implementations of such products works. And on the models can be, throughout this journey, they can be relatively simpler at the beginning. They can become more complex, etc. But think about it: the more complex they get, the more accurate predictions they made, the faster the predictions they made. Obviously, the more expensive they are. The more expensive they are by their design, by their development, most probably by their underlying resource in consumption, and of course by their maintenance, and last but not least, their explainability kind of a little bit probably gets drops as if that's from a significant importance. I hope I'm answering your
And
question.
I will add a question to your answer. Is then, in that case, whose KPIs this should be inside the bank? So this should be, I mean, and also this is a little bit about the structure, like the AI team or data scientists, whether they should be in the business line or whether it should be a separate team, tribe, department in the organization. What's the best from your experience?
Again, a very good question. It doesn't have that simple answer in a very one-way directional as the previous question, but it depends. And it depends, first of all, on the current state of the bank. It depends on the internal organizational structure, including the data structure of the bank. It depends on the historical involvement of the banks. There have been examples, for example, of previously banks gone through a couple of mergers and acquisitions, leading to data residing in many different platforms, and so on. Now, if the bank has already embraced this journey, what our recommendation would be always think strategically, pick up via the frameworks what is the most promising and let's say
Scalable.
yes, scalability is one of the aspects. So you have actually two. If you think about a graphical representation on the vertical, you would have potential value for the business. It could be customer satisfaction, could be revenue, could be profit maximization, could be many things. And on the horizontals was the cost and ease of implementation. And it covers the technology, the processes, the people. So find out this mix. And if it turns out that for a few use cases, multiple departments might be beneficial, then your operating model should probably be more towards something which is more centralized or hub and spoke, compared to if you think, no, actually, it's just this department which is mostly having the benefits of it, let's say fraud detection or anomaly detection, then it's better to place them there simply because the communication is faster, the exchange of subject matter expertise and knowledge is improved, and you could see probably quicker results and quicker wins. But again, it really depends on too many factors to have one-off kind of solution and other such problems. But let me tell you one thing: everyone is dealing with this challenge, and reality is it it evolves as well. So people are learning by their mistakes, and it's like in our human nature.
All right. So the next, my question to you, Nick, will be how actually matured or AI matured, let's say, the banks or the financial organization should be to start using your tools, and actually the one that you presented on the next best offer for the customer. And can it be a first AI use case in the bank?
Absolutely, it can be. It can also be for someone who is already on this journey, or some banks who are already doing, because a lot of banks are already implementing different and various products. There is one important thing here. You should think about your AI strategy in waves, like in any strategy: short, medium, long. Probably the long wave is not exactly the same as the short one. But in order to identify the quick wins for the short way and the use cases which are applicable, you should be looking for processes and ways where you can swap parts of them with the predictive power of the AI models, where you don't have to rebuild completely new systems, etc. Because yeah, that will be the ideal case, that everyone gets everything personalized.
Yeah.
If you start from the offers, throughout the reporting, throughout the layout of your mobile application,
Yeah.
great.
And real time.
Exactly, but it takes a lot. So there's probably this for
Yeah.
second and third wave. But for the first one, concentrate on easy picks. Might not be exactly the first thing coming to my mind, the next best offer. Depends where your problems and where your actual strategic goals are. That's why we always start with the strategy. As a, without being able to identify these problems and opportunities and the underlying root causes, you're not doing yourself a favor. You might be gaining some wins, but they might be purely on a chance.
Yeah. Yeah, and here, I mean, I think the next best offer sounds is a really must-have tool for both the banks, because this is sales, this is revenues, right? This is the right sales with the right product to the customer, and also this is very good for the customer, because really you don't have this good experience, not from distance channels or digital channels, nor from the RMs, that they really understand, especially if we talk about business customers, SMEs, that they really understand your needs and suggest and offer you really the best offer for you as a customer. So yeah, but this is also very much about data, right? Because this
Yes,
is, yeah, this
definitely.
this is the moments where I think, yeah, banks are thinking and working on it right now, because we do have examples here in the CE region when banks having the ecosystems around the business customers have all the data, right? So the transaction data, if they have e-invoicing tools, accounting tools, of financial data, invoicing data. Yeah, so like having all the data about the customer. Now the next step is actually to, I don't know, centralize it, make it real time, and then yeah, suggest this really.
That's a really good point you're raising. It's double-edged knife. Simply because people can get lost into data, and might think more and more, oh yeah, let's utilize this and this and that. But at the end of the day, there are a few predictors which we can be using. They're bringing, let's say, 80% of the value for the prediction we're making. Um, the the other challenge, some organizations are making, not only banks, the approach is, okay, our data is low quality, our data is not governed, our data is siloed. Almost everyone has it.
Mhm.
Let's first of all do everything which is required for the data to be in high quality, available, with good literacy, with the possibility of having a data lineage throughout. That's very nice. That's really nice, but it takes years. Especially like a large organization, it can take up to years. It could cost multi-million euros or whatever the currency equivalent is. And yet you have not resolved a lot of, you have resolved the problem, but you're not benefiting from
Yeah.
resolving it. So the approach should be a combination of both. Yes, you know you have to do it and you will do it, but you start with you start this strategy formulation in the horizon modes into knowing what your longer term, but also being able to reimburse for some of it because you've already done it. You will start with the first, let's say, most important domain being customer data domain, being a product data domain, etc. You won't start with all of it. You won't start, let's say, with the HR data domain from, as a scratch, and you don't need to wait until it's all resolved. You can still plan around that.
All right, and the last question today from Arman, and thank you very much for your feedback. So could you please provide with more information about NBO, including any relevant case studies?
Yeah, sure. We can follow up on that. No problem at all. With pleasure.
All right. All right. So maybe Nick, in very short, how banks here from the region can start cooperating with you? What are the next steps?
I think if this topic is interesting and appealing to you, please do not hesitate to get in touch with us to have an open conversation. Again, this might not be the first, let's say, problem you're trying to solve, but let me tell you one thing. You have to start somewhere, and if you already start and you don't feel very confident on, am I getting in the right direction? Yeah, let's verify it. We have had clients and still clients of us who were on such journey, wanted just a validation and still worth of a reassurance or taking the correction path. We have some expertise in this area for sure, but most importantly, our data science team is extremely strong. And these are people with PhD degrees who started working on AI, some of them in 2003, far long before
It became
GPT-3 was released. Yeah.
all right. Thank you very much, Nick. Thank you very much for a great webinar, for your contribution.
Thank you, Olena. Thanks, everyone, for listening.
Thank you all the attendees. Yes, we will send the recording, the contacts to Nick right after we finish, and the presentation, and the study afterwards. Thank you very much, and see you next time.
Thank you. Bye-bye.